What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Y'all know what time it is. It's your boy, Kizzie in the building. Can't wait to talk. And guess what? We gonna talk about it. Man, I just feel blessed. I appreciate everyone. You know, all my sons, my family. You know, we family, man. My weight changes in the building. You know, before you can change the world, you gotta change your weight. I appreciate all of y'all, man. I just wanted to come on and just express gratitude and appreciation for everyone who has been tuning in, who has been weighing in, been liking, been sharing, been commenting, all of that, been subscribing. I really appreciate you guys. This week's videos will actually be more audio than video. The first video that you guys will probably see as one that was recorded, but the recording didn't go too well. But the audio is, I mean, just amazing, and the content is incredible. So I truly want you guys, it's protecting your money. And I truly want you guys to tune in. I pray it blesses you guys. I know y'all won't get a chance to see this race the entire time. But it's all good, because at the end of the day, I truly believe that the content is what's going to draw you, is what's going to bless you. And so I pray that, you know, it will be a blessing to your life. And I pray that, you know, you will continue to be enhanced and that you will continue to grow from it. And the other one is where I actually recorded months ago, and it actually was straight audio, and it's about weight loss surgery. You know, is it good or bad? You know, so we're gonna tap into that, because I know I haven't really talked about the weight side, like the physical side of, you know, this journey. Can't wait to talk. But we're gonna get into that as well. So those two episodes will be dropping this week, and I pray that y'all will just be blessed. You know, I pray that y'all will be, you know, just, you know, y'all continue to support, number one, and that, you know, as we finish out this month of June, that, you know, we just continue to grow, we continue to learn, and continue just to have an understanding about, you know, our lives as men, our lives as women, our lives as individuals, as humans. And so, you know, I love you guys, I appreciate you guys, and I truly just want y'all to continue to be blessed. So stay tuned, check these episodes out, and be blessed, man. Y'all know what time it is. Kizzie, can't wait to talk, and guess what? We gonna talk about it. So let's get it. All right. So what's going on? Y'all know what time it is. It's your boy, Kizzie in the building, man. Coming back with another episode of Can't Wait to Talk. Man, it is 2023, y'all, and I'm so excited for this brand new year, so excited for this brand new opportunity. And, you know, we coming back with more just exciting episodes, more things that, you know, to come, and I'm so excited about just the brand going to another level in this year. I have a special guest with me today, long time friends. Been knowing each other. Our mothers used to work together back in the day when they kind of introduced us to each other, and we brother and sister, you know. So I'm grateful, you know, that I'm thankful for, number one, for social media, because social media has been a godsend for people that you lose contact with throughout life, and you know, you scrolling through it, and next thing you know, you see a familiar name, and like, wait a minute, I know that person. Hold up, let me click and see. Like, oh yeah, that, you know, and that's how we was able to, you know, keep in touch throughout the years and everything. So I'm truly grateful and honored that she's on the show today. But I just want you guys to know I'm appreciative for all the love worldwide that this show has been given, all the countries. We finally made it to South Africa. So I appreciate, you know, my African, I don't know the nickname, Africaridians or whatever you call it. But all my South African people, man, we finally made it to that continent. I think it's maybe one or two more continents we need to make it to. So I appreciate everyone that has tuned in worldwide to this amazing show, and we just gonna continue to keep growing. But without further ado, we're going to get this thing going, man, and we're going to, you know, so like I tell y'all, put on y'all seatbelt, because we're about to go to another level. But this young lady that I'm about to bring to y'all, man, she's a wife, she's a mother, she's a daughter, and she's just a beautiful spirit, and I'm grateful to have known her and know her to a certain extent. You know, we have lost contact, lost each other, you know, throughout the years. So there's some things that I need to get caught up on, but I'm grateful that that I reached out and that she was able to do this. So without further ado, y'all show your love for Miss Letitia Jefferson. Let's go.
Hey.
Welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing good. I'm doing real good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. That's what's up. Well, let's get this thing started. First off, let the people know who you are. Like, you know, just give a little synopsis of who Letitia is. As far as what you got going on in your not too deep, but personal life. If there's any business or ministry, you're part of, we'd like to know.
All right. Well, again, my name is Letitia Jefferson. I am definitely a proud mother of 3 beautiful, beautiful children, one of who is a high school senior this year, doing her thing. I have a 5th grader who is doing his thing, kicking butt and taking names and just, taking the world by storm at 11 years old. Wow. I'm also blessed to be the parent of he's 8, almost 9, but he's 8 years old, autistic, but definitely keeps me on my toes, and his father and I keep us both on our toes, and there's just never a dull moment with him, so we're very proud that the Lord chose us to be his parents. So that's just very, very exciting. I am a graphic designer by trade, went to school, studied graphic design. But I also do a couple of other things, a couple of big things that I got coming up. So hopefully, the world will hear about that pretty soon. Okay. But other than that, and I am a very, very proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Shout out to all my sorors.
Now, what calling is that? Because I love staff shows and I love HBCUs. And every time the girl it's good. So which call is yours?
Delta. Ooh.
Okay, it's ooh. Okay, okay, all right.
Oh man. So
wow.
that's me.
How's Mom?
She's doing really good. She's doing really, really good. She retired some years ago from the world of education, and so now she helps us out quite a bit with the kids. And she's just enjoying retired life. It looks good on her too, but she's enjoying herself.
Wow, that is amazing. Well, you definitely tell her I said hello, because I haven't seen her in months and Sundays. Probably wouldn't even recognize it if I was like, what? She looks familiar. Wow, that is awesome. A mother of 3. Hey, I see you took a break between the first one and the second one, huh? You know what I'm saying? A senior, then you said what, a 10, almost 11. That's quite a few years in between.
It was, and I that has to be the Lord's doing, because for a long time we were like, okay, well maybe the one and only, and it was funny. We were actually, my husband and I were actually looking into adoption when we found out we were pregnant with my son. So we were like, okay, well that works out. We were 7 years in between, and for us, we were like, that's amazing. We get one out of college, and then we have another one that, right behind him. We have some time before he would get there, after she got out, and then, we were thinking, okay, well, that's it. And then 2 years later, along came our youngest son. Yeah. So we were kind of like, okay, Lord, well, like, thank you for working it out. We know you're going to be there with us, so we'll do the best we can.
Yeah. That is amazing. Yeah. Well, the reason why we're here today is I saw, like I said, social media is amazing, but I saw a post that you had put out about your weight loss journey. And you talked about basically you was, because I don't have in front of me the whole post, but you basically was kind of making a declaration of the fact that, hey, you know, I want to take care of myself, and I need to get this weight off. I've gone down this path, that path, nothing really worked. So this is the path I want to go. And you had the surgery. So what I want to know, I just want you to be able to walk me through, because before I kind of give my, ideas about surgery or whatever the case may be, or just weight loss, that type of deal. I want to be able to hear from you. How did you get to the point of saying that, number one, I want to be here longer as far as with my health, my body and everything. And then how did you get to the point of the surgery part?
The point of the surgery part. So, my biggest thing is when I take a look at it holistically, okay, with my journey with weight loss, it kind of goes all the way back to even when I was younger. I was never the really skinny girl in school. I was not. However, I felt like I was pretty healthy. I was very confident with myself. I was confident in my my size. So it really wasn't a big concern to me. But like I say, I was never overweight. I was really active. I was pretty active. So it wasn't, it wasn't really a big deal. Went off to college. I was in the band my freshman year. So the freshman 15 didn't find me at all, and then even throughout college, I kind of, everything was kind of on an even keel. It wasn't actually until I began what I consider serious life, where, you're out of college, everything is now kind of on you. You begin that portion of your adult life where you
was grown.
Right. You're that ultimate independent.
That grown life. Yeah.
Right. And especially especially as a female, I began getting into, the stressors of life, then getting married, having children, all of that, coupled with inconsistent, and I'm not going to say bad, because I did eat healthy. I just didn't consistently eat healthy, but with very, very inconsistent healthy eating, it caused the weight to then begin taking a toll on my body. And that is where it began for me. Because even after my daughter was born, I did, I gained weight. It still wasn't the size. My size was not a big issue for me. Right. It was not a big issue. But as time went on, what began happening is that it began to take a toll on my health and the overall way that I felt.
Right.
And that is one thing that has always been a big precursor for me, is the way I feel. When we wake up in the morning, some of us kind of drive our day based on the way we feel. We interact with people based on the way we feel, right? And so that was kind of like how it was for me. I knew that, okay, I'm feeling good enough. I'm blessed that the Lord woke me up, so I'm going to take this day on, or I'm going to take on this, challenge today, because I feel like it. I feel like I can do this. Well, I had gotten to the point where there were times when I was like, okay, I don't feel like I can do this. You know what I'm saying? So there were things that really made me stop and say, okay, I was once upon a time like this. What's going on now? And later on, it wasn't until later on that I realized that, this thought process for me, not feeling like it, not having the energy to do things, is what had the potential to throw me into mental issues like depression. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I never will forget there were times when I would definitely exercise, like many people that were overweight or are trying to, take back their life. I would start the exercising and I would do okay, and then I'd fall off. And then I'd start again, and I would fall off. But it wasn't until, let me see, my youngest son was born in 2011. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't until 2015, and I never will forget this. This was, it's like it just happened yesterday. I had my youngest son with me. I was at home, and I was getting ready to change him or get him dressed or something like that. And so I never will forget, I went to pick up something off of the sofa, and when I did, it's like my whole body got stuck, and I felt myself falling, and it almost felt like someone had just pulled the flooring out from under me. Mm. And so thank God I was close to the sofa, so I didn't hit my head on anything, but I just remember my head spinning, and I didn't know what was going on, and I was so scared. It literally scared the mess out of me. Yeah. So I immediately made a doctor's appointment, and I have to admit, at this particular point in time, I was going to the doctor, just not as regularly as I should have been. Right. I was keeping up with, of course, my well womans and things like that, but as far as visiting my PCP, I wasn't going as regularly as I should have been. So I made an appointment with my PCP. And I remember when I got in there, she said, well, look, I haven't seen you in a while, so I don't know what happened to you. I don't know what it could have been. So she sent me to have all of these tests done. And, praise God, everything came back normal. I had done some scans, just to make sure that, I didn't have, a stroke or anything like that, that might have caused me to pass out. So all of that, brain scan, everything came back normal except for my A1C. And at that time, my A1C was at a 14. Okay. And anyone that knows about diabetes or has struggled with diabetes knows that a 14 is dangerously high. A 14 for an A1C is dangerously high. So at that point in time is when she was just very real with me, and she said, well, listen, Ms. Jefferson, if you don't get the weight down, if you don't get your weight under control, this is going to start causing other issues. Now, for those of us that grew up with the with the older, with our older crowd, that's what they called back in the day was the sugar. The sugar guy. The sugar took his fingers. And that's all I could remember in my mind is I don't want to be 30 some odd years old running around here with one leg, or one arm. Yeah. Or, worse off, I'm not here. I'm dead and gone. Yeah. So, at that point in time, I remember I came home, of course, and I sat on the bed and I cried, and I remember asking the Lord, what do I need to do? What why is this happening? And so I remember the Lord telling me, okay, if you're done crying, if you take a look, I've already given you what you need to do. So and I say that because at that point in time, the area that we live in has a group that exercise. At that time, they don't do it anymore, but they had a group that would do yoga at the park every morning, or there was a group that would just walk the area, walk the park, walk the neighborhood. Right. And I would see them every morning, go out to my yard, speak, hey, how you doing? And so I remember him telling me, that's already there for you. That's how you can get started. Yeah. And so, I never will forget the next, that. I didn't start a course that next day, but within that next week, I got up and I walked as long as I could. And so that's where my journey began to really, really try to get my weight under control. Okay. Now, at that time, what I did not know was that was not going to be the be-all to end-all. At that point in time, I still had no idea that I would still struggle to get the weight off. So at that time, just to kind of put some numbers in perspective, I weighed about 320 pounds when I first started that journey. And so even with the walking, I was able to get my A1C down. I think by like a couple of months later, I had lost maybe about 15 pounds, and my A1C had gone from a 14 to a 10. So I was still doing, I was doing pretty good. I was about that, 300 mark, that maybe like maybe 297, 298. I was kind of in that range. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to keep going. So I hit a plateau, and I never will forget this plateau. Caught me at about when I got to maybe about 290. This plateau caught me. So I did what most people do. I started researching other ways to lose weight. So then, that's when the fads pop up. And you start looking into like the different ways people have, taken this pill and done this and done that. Well, taking pills, I was like, okay, I'm not sure if that'll work. So that wasn't a big thing. So, what I actually, found was that someone had said, okay, lifting weights is what had gotten them, had kind of gotten them out of plateaus. So I said, okay. So I started doing weight training. Well, weight training for me was amazing. I actually, I love it. I love it to this day. I love to weight train. However, for me, what that did is it didn't, I was putting on muscle faster than I was losing fat.
Gotcha.
And so, now, even with that, it was still lowering my A1C, but I still was not dropping the amount of fat. Because at this particular point in time, at this particular point in time, I actually stopped paying attention to the number on the scale because, of course, I had realized that I was putting on muscle faster than I was losing fat. But I did start paying attention to I forgot the name of it, but it's basically where it's my body fat ratio. That's what I started mostly paying attention to rather than the actual number on the scale. So when I was looking at that, I was still well over like 50, 60, 70% body fat, even though I was still putting on muscle. Well, then I started, at this time I was eating healthy, a little bit more consistently eating healthy. I was actually a lot more consistently eating healthy. But there were times when I would eat very, very little. And what I didn't know at that time is that, sometimes when you don't eat enough, your body goes into what's called starvation mode. And so when it goes into starvation mode, it holds on to the body fat that's there. But again, like I say, that was me, not knowing, not understanding. Then I discovered intermittent fasting.
There you go.
Which was, it worked for me for a little while, but for me, it was not sustainable enough. To achieve what I was trying to achieve.
Gotcha.
So I think by this time I was maybe 3.5 years into my weight loss journey prior to weight loss surgery. So I never will forget, I had gone in, and of course my goal was always to lower my A1C and to try to get off of my diabetic medication, because at this particular point in time, my doctor had me on a shot daily as well as the maximum amount of metformin that they could put me on.
So let me ask you a question. Were you diabetic before you started your weight loss journey? Because I know when you said you went and you found out that your A1C was 14. So, and since you knew about that, were you already pre-diabetic or diabetic at that point? Or
so it's a possibility that I was definitely pre-diabetic at that time. Now, when I was pregnant with my first son, my 11-year-old, I was not. I wasn't diabetic then, and I didn't have pre-diabetes. So the only thing I can think of is that somewhere in between the birth of my son and the pregnancy of my second son, I developed diabetes at that particular time.
Okay.
Now, I was diagnosed with I forgot the name of it, but I was diagnosed with, I was diabetic during the time I was pregnant.
Okay.
With my third son. So, but, my doctor was telling me that if I worked on it, that would possibly go away. And I said, okay, cool. So, right after I had my third son, I was fine. So, we fast forward, 2.5, 3 years later, at this particular point in time is when I'm thinking that's when I developed the diabetes. And so, granted, also, there were a lot of stressors going on in my life at that particular point in time. A lot of things that I was trying to handle as well. And it's just the typical things of a wife and a mother and a daughter. So because I wasn't very well versed in handling just the normal stresses in life, I now know that those were things that, that had got to me as well.
Right.
That probably contributed to, the development of my diabetes and things like that.
Yeah, stresses have been known to add fuel to the fire, as I say.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
Especially
does.
when it comes to weight and accumulating weight, stresses have been known to just add that fuel. It don't matter how much you're trying to get on to a particular, and really what I call it is distractions, because that's at the end of the day, that's really what it is. You have your mind focused on, okay, I got to do this, I need to do this, I need to do that. But these distractions come along and it throws you off, and it takes your mind away from the main thing, and when as soon as it takes your mind away from the main thing, then it's like, you get off kilter, and then before you know it, you like, dang, okay, now I gotta, it's almost like you almost feel like you're running in mud, or running in, it's like you moving, but you ain't going nowhere. It's like, man, why do I feel stuck? Why do I feel like I can't get above and go, beyond this place? So, but yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And again, sitting here at 42 years old, looking back at my 30s, the things that I know now, I just realized now that I was doing so much wrong.
Yeah.
I was doing so many things wrong, during that time. But I never will forget. I know my best friend, hopefully she'll listen in on the podcast, but my best friend Jen, one day I was talking to her, and I was just saying how I still wasn't achieving what I felt like I needed to achieve in order to lose weight, or in order to lose the amount of weight that I really needed to lose. And so at this particular point in time, I had kind of topped out at about 280. So, if you listening to my story, I've gone from, and this is over a matter of maybe of about 3.5 years. So I've gone from 320 down to 280, which any type of weight loss is good. I never take that in. If you've lost 5 pounds of like fat, it's amazing because it does, it does help. I just know for me, it was just very disappointing because I felt like I was working so hard and working and doing everything that I needed to do, and I still was not achieving what I needed to achieve. So, like I say, I never will forget, my best friend said, well, have you thought about weight loss surgery? And at that particular point in time, I had not. And I'm going to be honest with you, the only thing I knew about weight loss surgery was Dr. Now and my 600-pound life.
Yeah, I was looking at some of that last night. Oh, Dr.
Right.
Now. I know they do.
That was, that was the only thing I knew about it. I had no idea. The last thing I knew is I know that, people that were what's considered morbidly obese, 700, 800 pounds. They were, they would get the surgery, and then the only thing I knew about that is that, they ripped a big hole in your stomach and, cut it out. Like, and that was that was really it. Yeah. I was very, very ignorant to the process of it. So, but I did. I stopped. I took a look at it, and at that particular point in time is when I found out that there were different procedures. There was the sleeves. There was, and it's different procedures. Oh, and also let me go back because I do remember the lap band. I remember lap band was a real big thing, but I remember hearing a lot of, I remember hearing about a lot of issues with the lap band, including this device that, they put the device into your stomach. So with it corroding and things like that, I was like, oh, that's not something that I really, want to deal with. So,
you definitely have done your research because I've done that as well. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So, so there was the sleeve that was, and the sleeve is, fairly, it's been around for a while, but it's fairly newer to the, to what my surgeon explained to me was the gold standard, which was gastric bypass.
Okay.
So, once I did a little bit of research, I had a conversation with my husband because by this time, after I had done the research, I kind of made the decision that, all right, I think I'm going to start this journey of looking into this.
Right.
So sat down, had the conversation with my husband, and he wasn't the most keen on doing surgery, but he was very supportive behind me. And he even took the time to say, okay, talk to me about it. What is it? You know what I'm saying? Because of course for him, he had this same idea that most people do. You cut down on what you eat, you exercise more, you lose the weight.
Right.
So, even still, he had to kind of, get to understand like the different makeups and of the different things that go into, your body's makeup and the way your body deals with holding on to fat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I never will forget. I made contact, and the first surgeon I made contact with, well, at that particular point in time, that surgeon explained to me that my insurance did not cover surgery. Mm-hmm. So, that was very, very disappointing. So what I did is the next time they had enrollment, I looked for a plan that the surgery was covered under. Okay. So that's what I did. I signed up for the plan, said okay. And so I guess at this particular point in time, this was like maybe 6 months later. Now I'm still, exercising, trying to, at least maintain, if nothing else, right? Because at this particular point in time, I just don't want to gain, right? So I go back. I initially find a surgeon that would do the surgery, and then COVID hits. Mm. So again, where we are now, we're back to that whole mental thing because now you're navigating COVID For me, I'm navigating COVID as a high risk because, I still have this diabetes. I'm still a diabetic. I'm still, in my diabetic range. And so I am now one of the high risk people that's at risk of dying from this, COVID, disease, So that kind of took a toll mentally with understanding that I now have to still physically keep myself going. I have to do everything that I can so I don't catch it, so I don't get sick. Okay? Right. And then that began to take a toll, and, that's a whole other issue because that, segued into my job at that particular point in time. So it was a whole big thing.
Yeah, it was a domino effect.
Yes. So, fast forward in 2021, COVID had kind of lifted. Things were kind of getting, it hadn't lifted, but people were starting to maneuver through it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And they had started back up. They were canceling some surgeries, but then they had started back up doing surgeries again. So, I contacted I wound up contacting another surgeon because at that particular point in time, the original surgeon that I had chosen before COVID still was not performing. They still weren't doing surgeries. So I wound up contacting the Davis Clinic, which is here in Houston, and I kind of explained to them the situation. And to be honest with you, after my initial contact, it was just smooth sailing from there. They were really, really amazing because, of course, at this particular point in time, I started asking the Lord, well, is this something I'm still supposed to pursue? Lord, is this a delay or is this a denial? So when I contacted them and they just, everything was kind of smooth sailing. They told me what I needed to do. They gave me all of the tools, everyone that I needed to sit down and talk to. It was it was amazing. It really, really was. It was amazing. So in September of 2021, I had gastric bypass. Okay. Now, I chose gastric bypass because my surgeon was explaining to me that gastric bypass is one of the best ways to reverse diabetes. Okay. And so at this particular point in time, I said, okay, well, that's fine. And I trusted her. Her name is Dr. Kizzie. So if anybody is looking into this, I would definitely suggest to check out the Davis Clinic and check out Dr. Kizzie. She is amazing. But when I got ready to have the surgery, I felt very confident in everything, very confident with everything that I needed to do. I had a very good mental grasp on what was getting ready to happen and what was going to happen in the future. So at that particular point in time, I said, okay, well, this is what this is. Now, don't get me wrong. I had heard some really great success stories, and I've heard some not so great success stories. But I will tell anybody out there, whenever someone tells me that they went through surgery and it didn't work out for them or they wish they hadn't done it, I definitely ask, were you mentally ready? Did you mentally know what you were getting into before you had the surgery? Did you understand that the surgery is just a tool? That you have to work and that you have to navigate, that it's not like a magic thing that's just going to happen. You still have to understand what's going to happen in the makeup of your body with this tool, things like that. I always ask them that. And for the most part, I always get the answer of, well, no, I wish I was more prepared. I wish I was told this. I wish I knew this before going in. And so, so those are things that I definitely look for, because I am a proponent, and if you guys can't tell, I am a proponent of the surgery. I definitely support anyone that gets it. I know, like I said in my post, some people like to say, oh, well, weight loss surgery is cheating, which to me, I don't understand that concept. I don't understand the thought process behind surgery cheating, because all it is an aid to help you lose weight.
Right.
It's kind of like telling somebody, well, your knees are bad, and so all you need to do is go out here and do knee exercises to build up your knees, versus the procedures that people do to correct what may be happening with their knees. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. You might have something going on, or inflammation, or some type of cartilage, or whatever that you're going on in your knees, and if you go get the surgery, get knee surgery, whatever, that could help you. And listening to what you said, you definitely you blessed me, because I being overweight long as I have, and people have always, oh yeah, go do the surgery, and it's interesting. I was this lady I was talking to at one point, she had the surgery, and she was like, yeah, you ought to do it. And I was like, oh, okay. And she was she was telling me, that she had done it, and she had, I guess she had gained some weight back or something, but she talked about throwing up, and she was like, well, you throw up every now and then, but you'll get used to that. And of course, when she said, I was like, get used to throwing up, lady, you was crazy, ain't about it. But when I hear you talking about it, I know this gonna bless somebody, because of the simple fact that you said something that I don't hear, and that even something that you couldn't understand, because you said that you got to go in it with an understanding of knowing that this is a component to use. This is not gonna fix your situation. It's almost like, oh, this is good. It's almost like if your car battery is dead and you need to jump. You can't go out there and just beat on the battery and say, okay, start up. If it's dead, it needs a jump. And even once it get that jump, that don't mean that battery is gonna last. So you might have to replace it, or you might have to, whatever the case may be. But you got to get it at least started, so that you can do the next best thing. So for you to talk about, the what you have gone through, and the fact that how it has helped you, I think that's just a blessing, because for me, I've never been a component of it, just because, and this is just what I believe, because at first, when I was younger and years ago, I was against it. I was like, man, no, like when I talked about the whole Dr. Now and my 600-pound life, that show, I look at that and I said that what's interesting is all those people that got that surgery, they still had to lose weight before they got the surgery. So it ain't like they was overweight. They were like, oh, I don't know where else to go, and I ain't got nothing else. This is my last hope. And then they go to Dr. Now, and he say, okay, well, I need you to lose 50 pounds. They like, what? But wait a minute. And he like, no. No, you need to lose. I need to know that you're serious about this. I need to know that, because you got to understand, this is not going to fix you. This is not going to, make all your situations better. This is just to get you going. This is just to get you started. But in order for that to happen, you got to have the mental makeup. You got to have it set in your mind that, hey, this is a journey and the path that I'm on. So in order to get this done, I got to be locked in. So before they even get considered, he said, you got to lose. And he literally, like, they can be gone for a month.
Weight tip, lean on me. You know, we all go through struggles. We all have pains. We all got a heaviness that we're carrying. But you know what? There's somebody else that has it worse. There's somebody else that's going through even more. There's somebody else that need a release. So you know what? We got to go to him. Like, you know what? I know you're going through, so lean on me. I know you got a lot on your shoulders, so lean on me. I know you got a heaviness that you can, so lean on me. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. So lean on me. We all got to have that shoulder to lean on. We all got to have that partner to lean on. We all got to have that friend to lean on. This is Weight Tip. Let's get it.
Come back, only losing 2 pounds or even gaining weight. And they like, well, I did everything you did. They say, I did everything you told me to do. No, you did. You lying.
Right.
You know, that's why I love him, because he be so real. He don't pull no punches. And so to hear you basically say the same thing, like, yo, you know, when I hear people saying that, oh, it didn't work for me, or, they went in it thinking that, oh, this is just, and I think that's why people look at it as cheating, because it's, it's surgery that it's, for me, it's almost like cosmetic surgery, like, the BBL and all that, like, oh, let me go get this because I don't like the way I look, or I don't like the way I feel, or so let me go get this done, because that's the generation we living in. We living in a place now in life where when you don't like something about yourself, whether that's your sex, you born a certain way. I don't, that ain't who I am. I'm this. Or my nose, I got a big nose. I got to go get that cut in half. I got big lips. I got to, So it's like, because of, we don't like what we see in the mirror, we got to run out and go change it. And we think that's what's going to make us happy.
Right.
We think that's what's going to satisfy us. But the reality of it is, if you don't like what you see in the mirror, it ain't got nothing to do with what you see in the mirror. That got something to do with what's going on the inside of you. There's a deeper issue than what you see on the outside, because you gotta. This is why I love this podcast. There has to be a love that you gotta have for yourself. When you started talking, you said, weight had never really been an issue for you. You was like, I never was the, little skinny kid or whatever the case may be, but I was good. So yeah. I was listening to you. You never said, oh, I was a little chubby kid, and that that wasn't your conversation. You was like, hey, I wasn't the smallest kid, but I was good.
Right.
I was good doing, as a kid. I was good. I went to college. I wasn't the smallest, but I was fine within myself. So what that showed me was, even though you probably wasn't as small as somebody else, you were still confident, or you was, you loved who you was, or who you loved yourself. And I think that's missing in a lot of people's lives, because they don't realize, this world. And I realized this the other day, especially when I think about, my purpose in this life. I think about my company. I think about the things that the people I want to impact and influence. We are not. This world is made up of many different people. We're not gonna be the same color. We're not gonna be the same height. We're not gonna be the same size. We're not gonna have the same type of hair. We are all made up in different colors, shapes, and sizes. And that's just the reality of it. All of us are not going to be skinny. All of us not going to be skinny. All of us not going to be geniuses and whatever. We all different, but we all got something to bring to the table. We all have something that's special about us that makes us unique. That's why we are different. That's why we are. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's not about, because, a lot of times, it's like when you talk about losing weight, oh, I want to be this size, or I want to be that size. And it's like, okay, do you want to be that because you're trying to look like somebody else? Or you want to be that because that's just what you want to be? So, but if you're confident in who you are, then, when it comes to weight loss and or wanting to be different, that you're doing that because because there's a, like for you, a situation happened that was like, whoa, wait a minute.
Mhm.
I don't care how much I love myself and how confident I am in myself, something ain't right. You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
Something ain't right. I might need to get some things checked out because this ain't. I'm not. I'm not moving and feeling like I've been. And I really enjoyed hearing you articulate what you was talking about, because you was like, yo, I was living life and everything was good, but that particular day, like, this is different. Something about this. This is not me. So because this is not me, and I know me, I've been with me all these years, but this is not me. This is not how I flow and move and operate. So there's something going on within me that I need to find out what's happening, so that I can get on track with it. And in doing that, you started on your journey. And of course, one thing I always say, anytime you are locking in to trying to better yourself, the enemy come in like a flood and throw you all kinds of distractions.
Yes.
Distractions. Why? Because matter of fact, I'm here in Dallas, and just went to this little winter storm, and because I drive trucks, when I got back in Monday night, I ended up kind of basically shutting it down here in Dallas, but I wasn't able to go nowhere because of the and the streets was getting bad and stuff like that. But I had literally been up in the truck for the last 2-3 days, just stuck, not able to go nowhere, and not able to eat no food. I mean, nothing. And my head started hurting. I'm like, oh my God, like, oh, what is going on? But because I fasted before and stuff like that, I knew what was happening. And it's like, as long as I'm, eating whatever I want to eat and doing whatever I want to do, my body's fine. But as soon as I try to, go on a fast, or I try to eat right and eat healthy, then my body started having all types of issues. My head be hurting, and I start having dark, things on my face. I'm like, what in the world is going on with my skin? Like, but I said, and it's all because I want to be healthy. I want to be better. So it's like my body goes through this transition mode. Like, we don't like this. What you doing? Hold up, player. Like, hold up. What are you doing? No, let's get back to the pieces and the chickens and let's get back to the sodas. We don't want no water. We don't want this. Like, no, that's no. So it's like, but I've come to realize that those are distractions. Why? Because as long as you're comfortable with how you're living and being, everything is fine. But as soon as you try to get out of that comfort and say, I got to do something different, I got to do, then it's like, oh, here come this distraction. Oh, because the reality of it is, life is what life is. We all live. Everybody that's alive today is living a life. And that means they're going to have to deal with something in that life. They're going to have to deal with bills. They're going to have to deal with, children acting up or whatever. They got to deal with, children that may have issues. They got to deal with, like what's going on in the news, burying a child and stuff like that. So you got to deal with life every day. But with dealing with life, you got to understand, too, what is this? Why is this happening like this? Like, it got to be something deeper, because if it's pulling me away from what I need to do, because I had already said the day before, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, boom, 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 boom. And then when tomorrow comes, And then you got this going on, that going on, and you find yourself like, oh, I ain't gonna be able to do that. I ain't gonna be able to. I said I was gonna do this, but I ain't gonna be able to do it. I said I was gonna do that, but I ain't gonna be able to do it. It's like, man, why is it pulling me away from what I need to do versus what, So
right. So the thing is, and Danny, I'm a kind of interject there because you said something that's really, really powerful. You are right. Anytime you begin to better yourself, that is when the enemy comes in, because he doesn't want you to better yourself. And the one thing, that's why it makes, like, starting an exercise regimen is so difficult, because when you begin that exercise regimen, it does more than changes you physically. It releases certain chemicals in your body that help to govern you mentally as well. And so I always say, the only thing that we are entitled to in this life is to be happy and to be mentally sound. And I say that because that's what we create in ourselves, right?
Yeah.
You around somebody that don't make you happy, you have a right to not even deal with them anymore. You have a right to not be in situations that don't make you happy and don't give you a mentally sound way of thinking. There are certain things that you just don't have to associate yourself with, right? So those are the only things we're entitled to in life. We are entitled to that, and we're entitled to the respect that we deserve. And if we are dealing with people or anything that's disrespectful to us, we are not required to deal with that. So that's something that exercise and a good diet puts you on. It puts you on a straight way of thinking and a healthy mental track. And I know that's something that Satan definitely does not want you to do, because if you thinking straight, the moment you think straight, you know how to thwart the demons that come at you. You can see it forming. You can see the demonic spirit forming. You can see them coming before they even reach you. Okay. And I mean, and this is just by you knowing. Now, and I'm not saying this, you would know it if you deeply rooted in the spirit and you're always speaking in tongues. No, you'll see it. If you got a coworker that you can see their stance and their body language when they're coming through the door. And if you're in a mentally sound spot, you'll immediately know, okay, you know what? The only thing that I can control is myself and my own actions. So let me mentally figure out how to stay out of your way and to keep you out of mine. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what that does. And I know this, this may be something, I hope this is something that you definitely talk about on your podcast, because even after having the surgery and the weight loss, the relationships that you have, some of them tend to take a toll, especially if you're in a marriage or if you're in a long-term relationship with somebody. That takes a toll. I can't tell you about the number of women I've spoken to that have had surgery and lost the weight, and because their significant others were so insecure, they made them feel. They made them feel inferior. Yeah. And I've had to tell a lot of women, look, you've changed your path in life, and this person no longer fits on that path. And the only thing you are entitled to is your happiness and you being mentally sound. So if they don't fit within that, sometimes you have to let that go, and that's what makes it difficult. That's what makes the whole thing. That's what makes the whole thing difficult. We even talk quite a bit about going back into bad habits. Now, this is what I always explain to people about bad eating habits. It's bad if you do it on a consistent basis. Okay?
There you go. Yeah.
Sweets are not bad. Sugar is not bad. The amount that you consume is bad if you over-consume them. But it's not bad. And I say sweets because, for some diabetics, they'll tell them, well, you probably should stay away from certain fruits that have natural sugars in them, right? Yeah. Because of the way your body processes it.
Right.
So that's what I try to explain to people. You know, it's more than just the gaining of weight is more than just bad eating habits, because I guarantee you, you know, not everybody that you see that's out here that overweight and then visibly overweight, where you could see the fat on them, because you have a lot of people that they may not visibly look overweight, but they are, you know, they're harboring the bad fat.
Oh, they heavy, yeah.
That cause the issues, yeah. But not everybody that you see that's consistently overweight is just sitting there eating a whole pot of pasta. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes weight gain comes from, you know, especially in women, sometimes the weight gain just comes from the woman's makeup. After you've had a child, the body is now like, okay, this may happen again, so I got to be sure I have enough energy stored up in order to run all of these organs in your body and deal with this child that you may bore again. You see what I'm saying?
Wow. That's good.
And a lot of people don't understand that. And like I say, you know, I can only speak from a woman's point of view.
Yeah.
But sometimes with women, if you're finding yourself trying to lose the weight and it's just not coming off like it's supposed to, it may not necessarily be anything that you're doing with regard to what you're eating and with regard to the amount of exercise that you're getting. But it may have a lot to do with just your particular body makeup, because our bodies are so complex, you know, and it's so interesting. And the more, like I say, let me make this disclaimer. I am not a medical doctor. I have never studied medicine. But everything that I do know is just based on my body makeup and what I had to go through after having, you know, 2 children and watching what my body actually did, because that's the good thing. I'm not the person that said, well, I just woke up one day and I was big. I don't remember how I got there. No, I absolutely remember going from a 12 to a 14 to a 16 and then finally topping out at a size 32. You know, I remember having to switch up those wardrobes, you know? So it's, you know, it's not necessarily what they're doing, you know, or what a woman is doing. And then, you know, on top of that, if we're looking at the stress aspect, in our society, we definitely teach our girls that no matter what, you still have to have it together. Yeah, this man may not be doing this. He may not be doing that. He may not have it together, but you have to have it together. Why?
Right.
Because, you know, at the age old, it's mama's baby, daddy's maybe. Well, if daddy's maybe, then, you know, mama's got to do. Mama has to do. Mama has to hold it together. And I know for me, I had to realize, and this, you know, during my weight loss journey, because when we're talking about losing weight, like you said, you know, earlier when we were talking, you have to lose the stress weight. You have to lose the weight of others, the weight that others are placing on you. You have to lose all of that before you can do anything physically. You know, I was going through your website and I was reading, you know, what you had put on there about losing weight. And then I remember thinking that that's exactly what it is, because the weight of others will consume you as well. So you have to lose all of that. And I know me as a mother, I had to know and understand that, you know what, if I don't do this and it doesn't happen, the world is still going to keep going round. It's still, everything is going to be okay. And I had to put that, you know, I had to put that in my mind. I had to also understand that I'm not, my particular case, I'm not a single, I'm not a single parent. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even in the situation where my children have a father. They know their father, but their father isn't doing anything in their lives. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think sometimes as women, we have to understand that when it comes to children, if the other parent is there are things that you have to put on the other parent as well to do. Because that was something that my husband and I sat down and talked about. And I finally had to tell him, look, I need you to take more responsibility when it comes to doing things for the kids. And so I never will forget, one of the things that he actually told me was, he said, LaTera, I don't have a problem taking responsibility, but you got to give it to me. Now, for me, that said a lot because in some cases, I was that type of person that was like, okay, if it's not done like this, it's not going to be right. And so in order for me to relinquish some of this weight, I had to understand that, okay, as long as the end result comes out the same way, I can't worry about how it's done. And sometimes as women, we take that on. Like, no, I got to do this because if it's not done like this, it's not going to be right. And that's not always the case. You have to sometimes stop and say, all right, that's not the path I would have taken, but as long as we got to this ultimate end journey, then it's okay. And we have to be okay with that. We have to be okay with letting it go.
So basically what you're saying is sometimes women, as it pertains to, other, husbands or spouses or whatever the case may be, they take on weight they don't even need to take on.
That is true. In some cases, I'm not saying that's the case in all cases. In some cases, yes. I think we as women, because we as women have had to become so independent lately. Okay. And again, I'm not trying to start a war of the sexes. Okay. And I pray that that's not, with anybody here.
No.
But I do know that there are a lot more responsibilities that women have to take on, especially when it comes to, raising kids, when it comes to keeping up with the family, because the dynamic of the dynamics of families have changed. We don't have a lot of men that understand their true definition and their true role of being head of the household. Does that make sense? Now, I'm not saying it's all men. There are some men out there that do understand it, and they play their roles very, very well. They do exactly, as they are supposed to do. They follow Christ as they're supposed to do, and then their wives are able to follow them. You know what I'm saying? Because they're on that straight and narrow track now. But in some cases, you have some men that just don't understand that. And at the end of the day, because women carry the child, they have more of an emotional, I'm not going to say more of an emotional connection, but they definitely do have an ultimate emotional connection to the child. Right. So their thought process turns from, okay, your father's not doing this, so let me try to do this, or let me try to make up for what's not happening in your life, for what you're not getting. And I think when we do that, we kind of overexert stress. We overintroduce stress into our lives. Okay? Now, that is the case for some women that have to do that. Okay? Sometimes you have to be both mother and father. Right? Sometimes you have to do that. But in the cases where you have fathers, as women, you have fathers that want to be fathers, that want to be a part of their child's life, then, sometimes it's just a simple conversation of saying, okay, this is the outcome that I would like to see for our child. What's your thoughts? What's your idea of getting there? You see what I'm saying? And then what that does is it essentially allows you to share the burden. And I guarantee you, burdens are a lot easier to bear when you're sharing them. Now, of course, we all know that, God won't put more on us than we can bear. But it definitely is a lot easier when you're sharing the burden between the two, because one doesn't tend to get weighted down. One doesn't tend to get don't get consumed, which at that particular point in time, Danny, as you understand, when we become overwhelmed is when we begin to shut down. Okay. We shut ourselves down from the world. We shut ourselves down from ourselves. And then when we get shut down, that's when that's the ultimate time when mental illness begins to set in.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
When depression begins to set in, and that's a big thing, especially for women. So the mental takes a toll on the physical, which then in turn comes back around and takes more of a toll on the mental.
Yeah. And
it becomes like this volleying back and forth. So, we do sometimes as women, and I'm speaking from me personally, like I say, I can't speak for all women, but I know I'm definitely speaking for me personally. There were some things that I had to let go of mentally in order to elevate myself physically, in order to continue to elevate myself mentally. And sometimes that's how that works. So, getting back to the surgery portion of it, that was one thing mentally that I had to, understand, was that the sickness of it, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes the mental can cause a physical sickness. And so I had to understand that, my body was going to be healing. It was going to be a while. My body was going to be healing from this procedure that, I decided to have. And so because of that, I had to watch mentally what happened to me. You see what I'm saying? I had to watch mentally what I allowed myself to endure. So, and it's been a great thing for me. I've had to, learn and even look to see that, like, oh, yeah, you made that a lot easier than I would have made it. So,
yeah.
So that's awesome. But, like I say, for women, I do think it's a little, it's a lot more difficult, because even naturally, men don't have to work quite as hard to lose weight as like women do. A man can do things minimally. A man and a woman can make changes, lifestyle changes minimally, and because of the man's makeup, he can lose more weight than a woman could.
Right.
And again, like I say, it's just because of the woman's makeup. And the understanding that at this particular point in time, this woman creates life again, and you have to have energy to create life. You have to have energy to create life. So, the body understands that. But I mean, and I realize now I kind of went off on a tangent, but
no, you good. Hey, one thing about this podcast is, there's, I definitely want people to see weight in every shape, form, and fashion, and just the things that you touched on as far as when it pertains to women, and the things that y'all endure, like even just saying how it takes energy, to bear children and stuff like that, and talking about how, men, there is a disconnect when it comes to men and women, and that whole dynamic. There are men that are handling their business, but then there are men that don't understand what their purpose and what it means for them to be in the home, and God never intended for women to raise children on their own. It goes back to the beginning. God told Adam and Eve, be fruitful and multiply. Every time, God was dealing with a man in the Bible, him and his wife, he said, be fruitful and multiply. So he didn't say, hey, go get her pregnant and then, woman, you go and figure it out. No, he said, go be fruitful and multiply. So God always intended for man and a woman to be together, married, and raise children to replenish the earth and to subdue the earth. And we've gone so far away from that to where it's, it's so many broken families, so many, just women feeling like they have to do it on their own. And when you have that mindset of this is what I have to do, you start to accumulate things and carry on things that you were never meant to have to do on your own. Mm-hmm. One thing I want people to understand and know that there's no difference between a man and a woman outside of our I would say below the belt organs, or what I'm saying, you know what a man is, you know what a woman is. Outside of that, we have the same makeup. There's this notion of men are emotional, men are as emotional as women are. We just don't present it outwardly as women do. But we get hurt just as much as y'all do. We might not cry outwardly, but we deal with it, and we deal with it in the way we deal with it. That's why men turn to alcohol. That's why that's why you got men out here stalking women and out of that. It's like men hold things in because we emotional. So it's that's why I don't understand, but
it's kind of inbred. It's kind of inbred too, because even when my sons were younger, I would listen to my husband tell my son, don't you cry. You gonna be a man with it. You don't cry. You don't cry.
But that's what he's been taught though.
Right.
That's what he's
right.
This notion of
you have to remain.
I saw a video of Ricky Smiley, and prayers definitely go out to Ricky Smiley and him and his family, losing his son.
Definitely.
But he said something because he's been on social media ever since his son has passed, and I really feel for him because at the end of the day, I know he's in pain. And he did a video, I think it was yesterday, and I guess he normally do lives, and I guess he made a comment was like, I'm handling like a man. And I'm like, dude, you need to go in a corner somewhere and just let those emotions out, because the reality of it is he's trying to be so tough and so hard and so, I'm handling this like a man. No, your firstborn has died. Your firstborn is no longer here in this earth. And he's even said, I haven't even cried yet. Bruh, you need to let that out, because that's not going to be any good for you. And you're not going to be good for anybody until you allow those emotions to come out. And for whatever reason, men feel like we got to be in this thing of showing like, oh, I got to be hard, I got to be this and that. Who told you that? It's like, who told you got to be this? You got in the Bible it says Jesus wept. He wept for Lazarus when Lazarus had died. It's okay, but what you can't do is stay in it, and that's something. And that's something that I find myself teaching my daughter, that because I do teach her that, okay, you can't, you're not going to be able to depend. You don't want to depend on a man. You want to be independent enough to where you can still do you and you can still survive if in the event he is not taught to do right. Okay. Yeah. We talk about what a real man should look like. That's definitely something that I'm on my husband about, that, you are her first glimpse into what a true man is. So you have to show her and treat her right. Well, at the same time, I tell her, okay, look, crying is not a bad thing. Sometimes you got to cry, but the thing is that you can't just cry and sit there. You can't just cry and sit there. Sometimes if you get pushed back to the starting point, sometimes you got to cry while you starting back at the starting point, but you got to keep going. And sometimes, I've heard some, older people say sometimes you got to cry and pray your way through.
Sometimes that's what that is. You know, the Bible never tells us that we can't cry about anything that's going on. You know what I'm saying? And the God that we serve allows us to come to him as we are, as broken as we are. As broken as we are. And we can ask him, Lord, why me? Why is this happening? And it's like you said, you know, you like you said on your site, the Lord asked, why not you? You know what I'm saying? And so that's what, you know, I try to explain to her. And even, you know, with my son too, you know, if you got to shed some tears, shed tears, but just keep going. Keep going.
Yeah,
because sometimes with that, I mean, if we don't teach our young men to understand that it's an emotion and that you don't hold it in, what happens is it begins to manifest itself in other ways. Because emotion has to get out of the body. It has to get out of the body. And, you know, sometimes that's, you know, a long time ago we would hear, you know, a pawpaw coming home and he'd be so frustrated at the job that he'd come home fussing at the kids, just yelling and fussing. And so, you know, a lot of the times what we never talked about was the fact that Papa was at this job probably working for pennies under what he was worth, you know, or working under somebody that he knew more than, and he was very frustrated, but he couldn't let that frustration out at work. You see what I'm saying? Because he had to keep his job. So when he came home, he would take the frustration out on the family. And, you know, that's something else that I think that we have developed, you know, kind of going into this understanding of stress and how stress has caused the health problems and caused the weight gain, because we were just taught, okay, well, that's what it is, so you just have to deal with it. This is just how things are, so you have to deal with it. And, you know, that's not necessarily the case. You know, sometimes we have to be able to tell them, look, Pawpaw, I don't know what happened at work today, but we didn't do it. So don't come home talking to us like that. You know, which then I think goes off into the whole, you know, talking to, you know, seeking mental help, talking to a psychologist. And, you know, that's something that has not always been prevalent in the African-American communities, especially in the African-American community. I think with our younger generation I think they're starting to embrace the fact that, hey, I need help. I need to seek help, because we definitely talk about it a lot. We definitely talk about it a lot. But, you know, that's just something that, you know, back in the day that African-Americans didn't do. And I feel like it goes back to slavery days. You know, you keep your head down, you don't say nothing so you don't get in trouble. You know, and I know that was the mentality, so you could, you know, stay alive or what have you. But I think what happens is it manifested itself into the understanding that when you don't talk about your problems at all, and then, you know, when you don't talk about them, they become a manifestation in itself to where you're unhappy. So as you're raising your children, you make your children unhappy. And then it starts this whole cycle until you get to the one kid where the unhappiness and the frustration begins to manifest itself in weight. Or where they become obese.
feeling? How you feeling? How you
Man,
feeling?
everything is going well, man. The last time that I checked, boy, it's going down, man.
Yes, sir.
Feeling great, boy. This is the best feeling ever, man. I don't think you can understand, man. New things coming, man. God is amazing. He's so amazing, man. Don't listen to the background. Just understand who God is. Because all the cussing and stuff is bleeped out because I am who I am. So, you know what I'm saying? I got to do what I do, man.
Do what you do.
But it's going down. Really.